Ready, set, boom. Hello, everybody. This is Warrior Leadership, and I'm here this morning. We're having tech issues. We don't have our intro. It's just raw with me and DB in the house. So we're gonna make this happen. But today we're talking about this is our first live episode for season 2. We've done a couple of them that were pre-recorded, but we're here with you today talking about the mindset of a warrior coach leading with vision and resilience, which is a perfect start. What do you think about that, DB?
I agree, man. I'm ready to get into it. Leading with vision and resilience. I think that, man, vision is so important. You know, without vision, it says the people perish. We need a vision. We got to have a vision. And yeah, I'm excited to get into it, man.
Yeah. So, I mean, we've talked about resilience a whole ton. I mean, I think the last 3 podcasts we've done were all about resilience, but when you get into vision, now we're talking about seeing something and figuring out how to put that thing into action. And I think that starts with, and I know last season we just went over this, but to me that's like it's keeping the end in mind. It's and there's this concept out there that's called backwards planning, and once you have vision for something, like for a business, or maybe it's a trip to Brazil, it doesn't really matter what it is. If you can close your eyes and see what that looks like, feel what it needs to be, and kind of get a taste for that thirst to know what that's, just everything about what that's going to be, then you got it. People do vision boards. People do exercises to figure out all the logistics behind what that idea would take to come into fruition. Some people do SMART goal planning to make sure that the steps that you're taking to get to that vision are realistic. But to you, DB, when you think of vision, what does that mean to you?
Well, when I think of vision, the first thing that comes to my mind is, like, what are the barriers to vision, right? Like what stops somebody and what blocks their path or their line of sight to see that end. Have you ever, you might have heard this saying before, sometimes you can't see the forest because of the trees, and always, I challenge myself to look and kind of like imagine really what's beyond the trees. Like, even if the trees are in the way and there's obstacles and there's things there, in my mind, I've always been the type of person where I've used my imagination to see beyond the barrier. And I think that's what vision is, right? Vision is like, in spite of this, I'm going to look at things from this lens or from this perspective. And when you think about resilience, that's why I love how these topics are kind of going together. Like, vision and resilience go hand in hand, because first you have to have the vision, which is the idea in your mind that you could do something. And I think that vision in this sense sometimes, man, can really take on a supernatural, in a way, idea, meaning sometimes the things that we might have vision for may be seem impossible where we're standing, but it's not necessarily impossible, it's improbable. And so because of that, because we're pleasure-seeking animals, we see that barrier again in front of us, and we're like, well, because that one barrier is there, it's a deal breaker, not a speed bump, right? And if we look at it as a speed bump, then we can get over it and we can keep moving towards that end goal that you just talked about with vision.
Yeah, that's true. And, really, when you have a vision for something and it's something that you truly want, resilience is what's going to get you through it. So when you're going through that figurative forest that DB just got done talking about, and you have an obstacle come up, maybe that's somebody telling you that idea is stupid, or maybe that's somebody telling you that, oh, that's going to be too hard. or whatever the case may be, you know in your mind, because you can see how real it is. You
Right.
know in your mind that it can be done. That gives you this, it's almost like a supernatural power just to keep pushing through. And when those other people are telling you that it's stupid or it's too hard or whatever the case may be, you're like, whatever, man, hold my beer and watch this.
Yeah, and I just had this thought, man, is vision is the vehicle and resilience is the fuel.
Correct.
And so when we have that vehicle, that idea of what we want, and then we figure out, well, how do I fuel this thing up? It would be the thoughts in our minds and emotion. Emotion is what moves stuff. And so I think sometimes people have this misconception that, like, I don't want to feel negative emotion because I don't want to be whatever. Like, I got to stuff it down. And I'm like, you don't understand the complexities of individual emotions and how they can drive you to a particular place and to a particular trajectory. And we're talking about vision. You don't know what a certain emotion, where it may lead you if you're willing to go down that path. And I'll give you the most simplistic example of this. Music artists, right? Music artists are very skilled in tapping into specific emotions and expressing that emotion through the medium of music. But how many times, think about it. Those hit makers, those great songs that you hear, it's born out of that specific negative emotion that they feel. And people, they make millions of dollars, billions of dollars really, because people connect to that emotion. And so what if regular average Joe people and Jane could use that same strategy? Because that's essentially what they're doing. They're using, they have a vision in their mind of a song, they're feeling it in their body, and then the words start coming out. And then that's building that resiliency. As the more and more the words they're able to bring clarity to their suffering or whatever they got going on. That's what drives them towards their goals and their aspirations, man. And so, like, we just got to learn to take a play out of, like, and it's not just musicians, it could be artists, it could be anyone, like, and so I just think that, this vision and this being the vehicle, we got to continue to fuel it up with that resiliency. And it's not, and also one more point, it's not just what we say to ourselves, it's also what people say to us in our environment. That's so huge. Like, literally, I work with people so often where they have this, like, external locus of control, and they expect that their resiliency has to come from other people encouraging them and lifting them up. And I'm like, wow, like, I want to help you develop and coach, you can agree with this, and I want your feedback on this too, which is, I want you to develop the inner therapist in yourself, the same way that you want them to develop the inner coach, correct? So give me some feedback on that, because I think that's related to this vision and resiliency that we're talking about.
Well, and yes, and I think what you're referring to there is these things that we talk about, reframing and all that stuff. It's
Yep.
important. If you can learn how to reframe those thoughts and you can practice that positivity and get yourself to a point where all that negative noise comes your way and you can kind of block it out and keep on moving forward. I mean, you have turned yourself. That's why we're calling it, being a warrior coach. What is the mindset of a warrior coach? Well, it's not just a coach, it's a warrior as a whole. And that's being able to take any negativity, and kind of reframe that and turn it into, put a positive spin on it so that you can push through any obstacle. And so that's self-therapy, that's self-coaching. That I think that's what you're referring to. But
Right.
When it comes to resiliency, once you do that, you become more resilient almost automatically. And,
Right.
It's important to push through all this negativity anyway, because let's think about this. If you have this vision and you push and push and push and you just give up, well, what if you would have kept on pushing, and then that very next day you would have had a win?
Right.
Well, guess what? That win is going to be that's going to be what fills your gas tank back up to go out there and start killing it again. I mean, the more wins you have, the more you know it's possible. And you know, if you give up on yourself at the finish line, and you know what, every day could be the finish line. You don't know what's going to happen in an hour or what's going to happen tomorrow. So if you hold yourself up at that finish line,
yep,
you could be missing out on exactly what you were hoping for.
Yep. And you know what? In the spirit of this topic of leading with vision, you know, we would be remiss if we didn't talk about the fact that someone is watching us. And so what are the like implications to other people when we lead with vision? And this is at every level of an organization, that you can lead with vision and with resilience. Like I look at myself, you know, in May, it'll be 10 years that I've worked at the Department of Veterans Affairs. And I've been leading with vision from the day that I walked in that door. I didn't need a title in order to lead with vision. When I walked in the door, I had already read about, you know, a ton of different policies that were out. One of the main ones was when I first joined, there was an act called the Clay Hunt Suicide Prevention Act, right? And that was one of the things that, you know, I looked at that, and I looked at the homeless program, things like that. And like, when I think about leading with vision and resiliency, I knew like what type of Department of Veteran Affairs I wanted to work in, and what Department of Veterans Affairs I wanted to be a part of as a veteran. And so for me, I look at it 10 years later, as I look back over my career, I'm like, there were specific times, and obviously it changes. There's different changes. There's a change right now that's happening. And this is like real time for me, where it's like, I continue to have the same vision, which is to serve veteran service members and their families. And that's the vision. The vision is to do that. And the resilience part is, no matter how many changes might go on, whether it be an administration change, a new policy, whatever, grounding yourself in that vision keeps you going. And then what's interesting is that for like 3 years, I've been working on this project, right? And I've been trying to get hospitals to work with me, right? For like 3 years, coach. And all of a sudden, a week ago, I got an email and I said, hey, you know, Mr. Brown, we'd like you to come talk about your Aging Veterans Coalition with us, right? And I'm like, okay. So I'm looking at the email thread. It's like 60 people on there. I'm like, wait a minute, who are these people? And I'm looking down and I'm like, these are all the hospital folks. And so here it is. I'm running around trying to like meet with these people one-on-one. I'm like, I feel like a salesman, right? I'm trying to like sell them this idea. And this goes back to this resiliency and this vision, right? I'm like, I got a little discouraged. I'm going to be honest with you. And then all of a sudden I sat back in my chair last week and I'm like, if I would have walked away and just said, you know what, I'm going to quit, I'm going to go get another job, another opportunity, the meeting on the 29th wouldn't have happened. And that vision earlier that I just said, serving veterans, service members and their families, wouldn't have happened. And so holding out for that couple years, whatever it was, to wait for that moment, guess what? In the end, and on the back end of it, it was worth it. But without the vision and the resiliency, it wouldn't have came about, you know. And I'm gonna be frank, like I didn't do that on my own. A lot of that, I'll be honest, it was encouragement, like from, you know, yourself, other people in my sphere of influence, also going into individual therapy myself about certain things. And so like, you know, this idea of leading with vision and resiliency, man, it is challenging, man. So just speak to that. I mean, I know I just gave you like an anecdote of my own, you know, leading with vision and resiliency, but to be honest, man, it's challenging. And I think as a leader, I think it's important for me to be vulnerable and tell people that, you know, what we're describing is not easy to do.
No, it's not. Well, look at this. We may have been 14 minutes late today on our live stream because technology was holding us up. But, you know, check it out. No, this is a real example. But at the end of the day, we're still here.
Yeah.
We're still showing up. I think part of leading with vision and resiliency is not quitting when there's an obstacle. I mean, when it's execution time, this is something I learned in the military, and thank God I served in an organization that is known for fumbling around until they get it right. But this is so true. But you know, a plan will only get you there.
Yeah.
The execution always looks different. And so when you are going through the process of trying to get this vision in order so that you can get all these things to happen to make something work, and you know, you're starting to go through the process to execute all the small goals to make that happen, guess what? The one thing that you have to understand is it is never going to be good looking. I mean, Carrie Underwood didn't walk out of the Capitol building when her music started playing and then stopped. No, she sat there, made funny faces, and then waited for them to ask her to sing a cappella, didn't she? She sure did. I'm just saying. That's a real life situation that the entire nation, probably the entire world knows. And why is that? Because that was an opportunity for her. I mean, how many people are asked to go speak at an inauguration? It just doesn't happen. Right. So, I mean, there's only one every 4 years. So, you know, when you have these micro goals, whether they're organizational, whether they're life goals, whether they are a vacation that you're planning with your family, it doesn't really matter. If you quit up, I'm talking stupid now. If you give up on at the first obstacle, you're never going to get there. And by the way, if you're that person who gives up when there's just a little bit of adversity, you're never going to get anywhere. You're going to go through life spinning your wheels and say, I wish, I wish, I wish. Well, you know, when people say, I wish I can, I wish I can, I wish I could do this, I wish my life was different. And I just think to myself, you know, what are you doing to make any of that happen? Are you just saying, I wish? Yeah. Are you just saying that that's what I wish I could live here? I would really, really like to, you know, get out of this job and start this business that I've had the idea for a long time. You can do all of that while you're working in the job. If you want to move, what are you doing? What kind of conversations are you having with people to figure out what it's like to live over there so that you can make that happen in 5 years? Oh, you vision is very, very important.
You talking my language right now, because, you know, I'm literally doing that right now. I'm the guy that's actually doing that. You know, so many people, they'll ask me like, are you still in business? Are you? Yes, I am. And I'm doing that too, because the fact of the matter is that it is a part of a greater vision. And if I look back at my vision board is right behind me, right? On my vision board are those steps and are those things. And at the end of the day, like, it's not about the vision. And I think this is so important because we're talking about leadership. Vision is not about us. Whatever it is we're going towards, real, true servant leadership, right? Whatever vision we may have is divine. It's not for our own benefit. We do benefit from it, right? But it's for something much greater than we would ever know or understand. Sometimes we can act out our vision and we may not even experience it in our lifetime. We may not be able to see the fullness of that vision come to fruition. Think about Martin Luther King. We just celebrated him, right? We celebrated his life. And his dream is my reality. And I'm just being real with you. His dream is my reality. And whatever people want to say, you know, people want to be divisive or whatever they want to do, I know that it's my reality. I'm living that. I'm living that idea that, like, wow, everything he just talked about, as I'm hearing it, I had a young man, you know, reciting it on last Sunday, and I'm listening to it, and I was like, his dream wasn't just my reality. His dream was also my vision. And if you look at that, that vision, that dream wasn't just for Black men. That dream was for all people.
Yep.
And so when you can visualize something like that and you keep your mindset on that, you know, it's not ignoring some of the negative things that happen in this world and the realities that face us, but it's not making those things bigger than my vision. Like, my vision for what I'm supposed to do in life is greater than any negativity, than any drama, than any of those things. And I think so many people have a hard time with this concept, man. And I think that as leaders, when we walk this out, like I told you in the beginning, Coach, like, I don't have a formal title of leader at my full-time job. What's interesting, though, is that my colleagues who are my equivalent, we're all at the same level. They came to me to seek that guidance and vision because they knew that, all right, Derek's going to be even keel about this. He isn't going to choose a side. He's going to have clarity of mind, and he's going to have that vision that's going to help me. He's going to say something to me, and when I leave off that call, I can take that one word or those couple words that he said, and I can use that as that fuel for resilience. And so when you talk about leading with vision and resiliency, that's what I'm so excited about being able to train people and get them equipped to be able to do this, man. And so, you know, right now we're just giving them the 10,000 foot view, but being able to actually be intentional about this training and growing is so important, because I think it's important to be around a community of other leaders, of being able to reinforce the things that we're discussing and talking about, man.
Yeah. Yep, it is. That's why we had this. It started as an idea, and then it turned into a vision after we worked out all the details, and it's starting. As a matter of fact, anyone who's listening who wants to hear more about what it takes to be a warrior coach, I have my first webinar to advertise it this Saturday. And if you want to hear more about it, I mean, I'm going to be educating on, you know, what it takes to kind of get yourself at center, some mindfulness and build some resilience techniques. But, you know, we came together to build this Warrior Leadership Coaching certification together through discussion. As a matter of fact, he helped me realize that all the formal training that I had in my past was all based in cognitive behavioral therapy. And so why not leverage that training and go help out an audience? And then, by the way, I have a therapist right here, well, figuratively, virtually, sitting next to me, you know, on this call, who, you know, if we come together, me being this warrior leader who has done tons of teaching, coaching, and mentoring throughout the years, who also became a certified coach, if I can take my knowledge and all the training that I've had, including this resilience training or this cognitive behavioral therapy training, and then combine it with what Derek knows, DB the therapist, that is, and you know, build a program and then help other people build out these same tools for themselves, why not? And so we're going to go out there and we're not just going to talk about it. We're going to freaking do it. And so that's what the Warrior Leadership Coaching certification is all about, is leading with vision, resilience, and you know, helping people overcome these issues that they have, you know, reframing negativity into positivity, and not just talking about, well, I wish I could think about this a different way, teaching people how to build those habits so that they can, and go out there and coach other people to do the same thing.
That's right. Absolutely.
Oh, man. Powerful. And by the way, thank you for going on this journey with me, my friend.
Man, it's an amazing ride, man. And we just get, the funny thing is we just getting started. You know,
this is only at the beginning, but you know what? It was a lot of hard work.
Well, there's been and you know, honestly, we've had our own, and we'll talk about this, I'm sure, at some time, but honestly, our own life things happening for us that have caused us to need to pivot at moments, but need to be resilient as well, and stay true to the vision. And what I'm excited about, and more so grateful for, is that, you know, your patience in the middle of it, man. Honestly, like, as a leader, I think, as we're talking about vision and resiliency, there are moments where, there's a pause that has to happen because life is going on, right? I think of that as like, all right, there's fight, flight, and freeze. I didn't know about the freeze aspect of it until like 3 or 4 years ago. I was reading this psychologist say, hey, there's one more mode between fight and flight, and there's freeze. And there's moments, and in this leadership journey and this life journey where we're leading with vision and we're resilient and we're driving forward. You and I both are ambitious. We're the bulldozers. We push forward, but every once in a while, that bulldozer has to slow down and has to actually sometimes may even seemingly come to a stop in order to get filled back up, because it's plowing and because that's its nature to do that. But at some point, it still needs to stop. And there needs to be some PMCS that goes on with that vehicle. And that's because that's the freeze moment. And so I've learned, and this is like something new, fresh off the press, is that I've learned to show myself grace in those moments that I have to freeze, because I didn't always accept it as an option. And I'm just now starting to like remind myself that as a leader, it's okay to freeze and to then trust in your teammates, the people around you, in the sense of family, trusting your family, trusting your resources and your support, because you can't just plow ahead 100% all the time. Like, that's just not. So no. Like, I just don't want to. I'm always careful to not, and I'm guilty of this. I don't want to appear like the what's his name, the scorch the earth guy on what's his name on YouTube, what's his name, the Navy SEAL guy. I forget his name, and I'm not throwing shade on him, but what's his name? I can't remember his name.
There are many of them.
Oh, David Goggins. So
I'm not. That dude is a beast.
He's a beast, but see, this is the thing. It's like he has a vision, I'm sure, and he seems very resilient across the screen. My thing is that, to me, that's not sustainable. Like, what he's describing and his strategy is not sustainable for most of us. And so if most people look at that, I believe that most people get discouraged by that kind of thing. And so when you think about, you got to run at your pace, your vision, it's your vision. And that's why coaching and therapy is so important, because if you focus and try to build your life around, and this was my point, build your life around like people's approval or other things like that, and you're not sticking to your vision, right? Your vision, then you're going to be acting out other people's vision for your life and not your own.
Man, that's the most dangerous thing you can do, is to compare your life to somebody else's. When I look at somebody like David Goggins, I look at resilience, but you know what? That resilience isn't necessarily the fact that he kills himself trying to stay fit all the time. That resilience is he got out of the military, struggled through mental health issues, gained all kinds of weight, and his vision was to create a healthy lifestyle for himself so that he didn't have to worry about having health issues. Right. And that gave him mental clarity, that gave him all kinds of stuff. Now, not everybody's vision is going to be to get fit, but you should still have the same ruthlessness towards that vision as David Goggins does. So you got to look at the silver lining. It's not always this chiseled dude out there, making things happen. You're going to see that all over TV. If you compare yourself to that person and say, I'm not doing enough, well, gosh, you're going to kill yourself trying to figure the shit out. If that's not what you want, like, I'm not talking about everybody wants to lose a little bit of weight. So that's not it. That's not it. if you don't want to be this person that works out all of the time and stays fit and then motivates other people to do the same thing, then I don't care how much you want to do that, you're not going to do it.
Yeah.
But if you want to start a business, or if you want to save up for a vacation, you need to figure out everything you can do and have that same level of ruthlessness, resilience to be able to carry out that vision. It has nothing to do with being this chiseled guy. You can go out and be this potato if you want to, and go sit at the beach or go on a cruise or whatever the case may. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. The point of David Goggins is that you are ruthlessly working towards your objective.
Yes, sir.
That objective is not always going to be to stay fit and get the mindset to push back all the pain while you're exercising because it hurts a while, but you got to do it anyway. No, that's not it.
Right. No, and yeah, I love it. Thanks for that extra commentary about that. Is exactly
the reframe.
Yes, that's the reframe. That is 100%. You see me smiling over here. That's all I'm getting. There's no shade against David Goggins. It's the fact that you do have to take the same intensity towards the thing you're trying to do. But this is the thing. Most of us, because we're like, hey, I'm not really doing the workout thing that much, and I'm not doing that part of the wellness wheel. I know I should be exercising, but I'm not doing it. And so immediately when we see that and we see this person talking about the vision, most people, not all, will get discouraged and they won't pursue anything else at that point. It's like, no, that's not how it works. You need to go, start with where you are. When I was pursuing, and this is just me being real, dude. And when I was pursuing my degree, I was extremely overweight and obese. The whole time. And I've had cycles where I've gone up and down with that, right? But I truly, and this is what this resilience thing, man, and vision is so powerful because it will, man, no matter what obstacles come your way, when you have a vision of something and you have that fuel of that resiliency, I truly believe nothing can stop you, man. I just want to show this real quick before we get off, because this continues to always inspire me, man. This is my first time writing down goals for myself when I was in a very dark place. You want to talk about a vision and resiliency? Literally, this is a 5-step, 5-phase goal. It's not a SMART goal. Look, and I'm not throwing shade on SMART goals. This is me. I had like negative money in my account. I was at the courthouse. My wife had to pay a parking ticket. And I said, you know what? Enough is enough. And I grabbed this envelope and I literally wrote a 5-step plan on how I was going to get out of it, man. And on the back of it, I wrote my mission statement, my why. And it's to empower people to reach their full potential by overcoming their obstacles. And man, when I tell you, when I look up at this thing today, I'm reminded that, you know what? At every phase, there was challenges, but the resiliency to keep going forward helped me through each phase. But if I didn't, and you said this in the beginning, if I didn't have phase 5 in mind, coach, would I be here? Because phase 5 on this is where I've already exceeded this already. I'm on to the next goal, the next set of goals now. But this vision thing, man, is so powerful, man. Like, we could talk about this for hours, to be honest with you. Like, if you don't have a vision, then you're not going anywhere. You don't have a vehicle. With no vision, there's no vehicle to drive you where you need to go. And now, I just want to say this one more thing. Now, my vision before used to be a automobile. Now, I'm trying to upgrade to a plane or a helicopter. I'm serious, man. Like, instead of I'm serious. Instead of it just being A car, for me now, this is where I'm at in my walk and my vision. I no longer want to drive and be in the rat race anymore. I want to rise above all that rat race stuff, and I want to fly. And so now I want to change my vehicle. And so I have a vision of a vehicle that's going to allow me to fly. That means I want to go higher. And so guess what? It's going to cost more for the fuel and the maintenance on that thing.
So let's get, it's great. It's absolutely fantastic to have these big audacious goals. And I'm going to say this and then we can close it out. But,
Yep.
you know, for some people, and let's just get realistic, Derek, some people just need to think about what happiness means to them.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, oftentimes we can get, you said it right, the rat race. We get caught up in the rat race and we get to a point where we are just going through the motions. We're not really happy, but we're
Right.
getting up, we're showering, we're going to work, we're coming home, we're eating, we go to bed, and we get up in the morning and we start that same cycle over again. Well, I'm going to challenge anybody who makes it this far in the video. I'm going to challenge you and say, think about what makes you happy.
Yes.
And don't just think about it, and don't just think, you know, about the small things that make you happy. No, what does happiness look like to you? Does it mean getting out of an apartment and moving into a house? Does it mean getting a job where you have management that cares about you? Well, what is that? What is that for you? Now, upgrade. You see what happiness looks like. You have a vision. Have the resilience to take one small action today or tomorrow to get yourself towards that happiness. Anyway, that's that. Let's get out of the big, hairy, awesome, audacious goals and go to the very basics, because a lot of people struggle with being happy. So that's it. DB, do you have any message to send to the people before we end our call?
No, just the only thing I would just say is, again, write down that vision and then start moving towards it one step at a time. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a process, and give yourself some grace in this journey.
Yeah. And as always, if you appreciate what you heard during this live stream today, and when you hear it on Spotify here in about a month or so on Spotify as well, you know, like, subscribe, but the most important thing is to let us know what you want, or let us know what questions you have by putting a comment below. Thank you for going through this journey with us, and thank you for watching another episode of Warrior Leadership. You all have a great day.